Good evening and welcome to Lower Frederick Township's April 28th, 2026 work session. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, all members of the board are in attendance this evening, including our staff, township manager, solicitor, chief of police, and our township engineer. Township meetings are recorded for the purpose of preparing the minutes, and the recording is destroyed after the minutes are approved. The meeting will be posted online on the township YouTube channel. The link can be found on the Board of Supervisors page on the township website. It is requested that all persons wishing to speak before the boards shall state their name, address, and the subject matter upon which they wish to speak for the record. In the interest of facilitating the business of the board, all persons addressing the board shall be limited to 3 minutes unless such time is extended by the chair for good cause. Individuals are requested to remain in their seats and to respect when others are speaking. The Board of Supervisors will provide a reasonable opportunity for citizens to comment on any non-agenda items after all agenda items have been addressed, but prior to the adjournment of the public meeting. First order of business on our agenda this evening is the conditional use hearing decision for 219 Fulmer Road. Peter?
So we had the hearing, I think, a month ago. Is that correct? I believe so. But at that time, the board did not deliberate. However, the board has deliberated since then, and we need to have a vote to take place at a public meeting. Once that vote occurs, my office can finalize the decision, have the board sign it, and then we can send it off to the applicant.
Okay. Did we have something to read off for this?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
And I know we did have discussions, but I don't have any notes of those discussions. If you want, I can put something together at this point in time, or one of you can make a motion.
Okay, I'm just looking for a little guidance on what we should do next here.
Well, I just need a motion in a second. I believe I can put forth a motion, and you can tell me how wrong I am.
Okay.
The motion suggested by the deliberations is that the board will grant the conditional use for 219 Fulmer Road, and that this grant is conditioned upon the applicant undertaking the project in substantial conformance with the evidence and testimony presented at the hearing. I do not believe there were any other conditions. Oh, we have one.
My review letter had suggested that a condition of approval be the joining of the two parcels into one deed.
Yes, oh, that also, I did forget that. So yes, the second condition would be the merging of the two parcels into one single building lot. And that would be my suggested motion.
Okay, that sounds satisfactory to me. Would someone like to make the motion, please?
Also move.
Supervisor Hexter makes the motion. Is there a second?
I will second.
Supervisor Jorena makes the second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, passes unanimously.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, there's two items on our agenda this evening, the policies for procedure in selling and donation and sponsorship. We didn't actually have enough time to go over those just yet. They kind of hit our radar this afternoon, so we're going to table those for a future meeting. And we will move on to the fourth item for the administration request for a township building sign discussion.
Come on, there we go. Okay, so I'm just going to do the presentation. It's 7 slides. So as the board may recall, we had done an LSA grant to replace our township sign with a digital sign back in 2024. We received that grant, but what happened during, I believe it was December 13th, our sign was actually taken out by someone. We don't have any evidence of who that someone was, so this kind of changed this discussion a little bit because we have gotten insurance money as part of our sign replacement. So this is, okay, I just kind of gave the history here, sorry. That's referencing the LSA grant. We did receive that. We got a portion which was $13,861. And I believe it was 2 days later is when the sign was hit. And as the sign was completely taken out, we have received, and that is money currently in the general capital of $19,043.50 to be put towards a new sign. And that can be any sign. It doesn't need to be to replace what we had. So one of the notes, pricing had increased since we submitted the grant. The pricing vendors gave us in 24 was around $10,000 for a digital sign, which no longer seems feasible with the pricing we are now receiving. As far as our budget, so as far as the budget goes, if you look between grant and insurance, we have $32,904.50. Sign options, examples are based off the following approximate dimensions of a 4x7 sign, 18 inches deep, or six, sorry. 18 inches deep, which was the same size as our original sign. Pricing in these examples was through KC Sign, which was the cheapest vendor when we were shopping around. We do have additional quotes from Limerick Signorama and Edge Sign, and all 3 of these are CoStar suppliers. KC Sign has been the most accommodating to work with, and we did get that recommended by other municipalities. Okay. So option 1 would be illuminated only. Oops. Option 2 would be illuminated with administration and police lettering. So that's non-illuminated, an example. I'm sorry, illuminated only. That total cost would be $13,820. As you can see from the Signorama quote, that's total about $22,430, and from Ed Signs, it's around $19,350. Option 2 would be the illuminated with the lettering. Total cost from KC around $17,465. This is where we had some issues with the other companies. As stated, they wouldn't give us further updates until we gave a finalized design and direction. So that would be something we'd have to circle back with pricing once we get direction from the board. And the LED lighting, digital. So all total, we'd be looking, the least expensive was $41,330. So with the LED, we could go with that, but we would certainly have to chip in some cash to make that happen. The Signorama, we were looking about 54,000, and Ed Signs would be 48,000. So as far as what I'd like the board to consider tonight would basically be, do we want a digital or non-digital sign?
So Jason, a question for you. With respect to the digital signs, are they, I mean, basically, are they updatable from like your desktop?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go that far into it, but that would be, I mean, I believe that's how a lot of that happens now. It'd either be there'd be an application, or I've never used one, so I don't have real experience.
Okay.
Or a computer.
Yeah, it seems like that would be the way. Yeah, okay.
Sorry, if we don't go for digital sign, can you put any information on that sign, like when our next meeting is, or burn ban, or?
So honestly, I was trying to do away with the marquee. That marquee it's not the most pleasant experience over time to replace those lettering. So we were not looking to replace what we had with a sign that had a marquee.
Can you go back to the costing again for the digital sign there? So what if we don't put administration and police on? That'll save us $3,500. And what if we don't do a side pillar with a logo? Would that get us almost to what the money we have? I mean, is that something we can add later?
I don't know how you would, I mean, I guess you could potentially do that later.
I'm just trying to figure out how we can get closer to that $33,000 that we have. Because, I mean, it's 2026, we should have a digital sign. I don't see that we should go backwards. That's my thought.
I personally don't have an opinion one way or another, what we get on the sign, as long as we get another sign. I do, however, want to stress that we have $32,900 to work with, and this was not budgeted. And we're only in a conceptual phase, so there's going to be some additional cost associated with this. And I'd like to throw in at least a 15% contingency on top of this for any untold. So it's going to creep up a little bit. Are we going to have engineers' drawings for this? You don't think we're going to have to do any of that?
We didn't, with the signs at St. Mary's and that the fire company just replaced, they weren't
like
stamped engineer.
conceptual drawings.
Which
okay.
generally you can get from the vendors.
And then finalizing everything with whoever we decide to go with, there's going to be additional costs. So I don't know if these numbers that we're getting are hard-coded numbers. They're going to go up.
I would say,
Yes.
without being able to nail it down, they may look a little different.
Yeah. So like even if we wanted to put a 10 to 15% contingency on, I'll say my preference was option number 2, with the addition of the lettering. It's not digital, and it was for $17,465. You add 15%, you're up to $21,000. So it kind of creeps up a little bit. So take that into consideration. Where I mean, I like the idea of, okay, the digital. What can we do to kind of back into that? But I'd really, really like to stay within to what we have to work with without having to tap into our general fund.
How much did the sign cost at the fire company? Anyone remember?
Was there's like 14?
I've got 24
But
sticking in my
They
head.
got it back when these costs were, when you got the quote.
I had 24, but I also know so one of the things, extra costs we have, we need the base. So they were able to work with the base that they had.
Ours got
So that,
trashed, right?
so that's adding a couple $1,000 because we know we need a base. I've got 24 sticking in my head. I don't know, I don't recall for sure what the total amount was for their sign, but
I want to say it was 14. But like you said, it was,
They
they
had-
had a base
they
to
had the
start
base.
with already, yeah. Well, but they got their quotes back in 2024. I know, so,
Oh,
costs
hold
went
on.
up.
RJ may be able to answer that. He raised his hand.
Is he here?
He's on Zoom.
Oh, fabulous.
Go ahead, RJ.
Hello. I know that we ended up spending between 19 to 21,000 all
Okay.
said and done for the sign at the fire company. Obviously, yeah, we still had the base, and we did for some repairs to the base to be able to put that kind of sign in to the base. But it was between 19 and 21,000.
Okay, thank you,
Thanks.
RJ.
And Jason, I think you mentioned at one point in time that we already have electric out to that location that
There-
the sign currently
Yeah,
exists.
so that was, that was what we had to disconnect. That's why for a few weeks, the sign was still on at nighttime.
So if we go digital, do we have to do anything else with the electric, or is it out there already?
There's electric out there. I can't imagine it would be
There's no
Much-
additional, okay.
strong. I mean, we would have, that would have to get lumped in to have the electrician, much like we had to pay to have them disconnect. You know, there'd be that cost to have them connected.
So should we consider that within this cost here? Yes, and how much do you think that might cost? Ballpark it, wing it. No. I'm not sure what they're charging per operator. Okay. But it would probably be a couple hours. Okay.
So probably like $200 to $500, roughly.
You want to say, how much you want to say, 500?
2 to 500, so that's like 300, 350.
Let's err on the side of caution and go with 500.
Jason, I'm going to approach this in a little bit of a different way. If we go back to one of these or two of these companies and say, look, this is our budget. We want a digital sign. What can you do for us?
That's an option.
Maybe we look at a different design that we can
Yeah.
afford it with our budget.
That's a very good point.
I
Yeah.
mean, I hate to keep, saying this, but we need to have a digital sign.
Like I said, I don't care one way or another, but I think that's a good
But if we
option.
just have a sign that says you're in Lower Frederick, that doesn't do much for us, does it?
No.
We don't have to spend $25,000 to tell people you're in Lower Frederick. This is the admin office.
So,
Is that,
I concur with,
Yeah.
at this, if we're going to go to the trouble of replacing the sign, it should be a digital sign. It should be a sign that can be updated without having people go out and hang letters on it. The other thing is the picture we're looking at right now here. Administration and police, those are electronic messages from the, that's all it says?
That would be on the base, that would be on the base of the pillar.
It just tells you where you are. Okay. All right.
I really like Marla's suggestion.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that KC has been the most,
Casey, the other two companies kind of dug their feet and they're.
I don't think they're going to be able to. But go back to the one that's been very cooperative and say,
If we go bare bones, we'd, so one of the things
a
was
bare bones
because,
digital, and then maybe we can build on that.
because we were kind of throwing like, hey, I don't know which way the board's going to go. Here's our, so if the board wants a digital sign and we can focus on that and we can start at bare bones and kind of go from there.
Well, it says here, without the lettering, and then the pillar and the logo itself are $29.95. The lettering is $36.45. Just the digital sign is $33,995, which kind of ekes us in, but it doesn't account for.
I mean, obviously my suggestion would be if we're going to do it, we should try to do it right first time, because I think going back to it is, I don't know when we're having that discussion, if that makes sense.
And maybe, and if we have to dip into our, like I said, I'd really like to just work with the money that we have. from the insurance and the LSA, how much are we willing to dip into our general fund if it comes to that?
Oh, Becky's raising her hand, so.
You have anything else to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, as someone who got the quotes, the three
Oh, sorry,
quotes.
Becky. Is that Becky?
Yep, that's Becky.
Yeah, hi. As someone who got the quotes, so that base sign from Casey is 33,995. That is their bare bones sign.
Yeah.
So realistically, like you kind of have to just weigh, do you want a lower quality sign at the same size, or do you want a smaller sign? Because that is pretty much, the bare bones basic. So like Noelle said, you're already at your budget. So just, adding things to chat about.
Okay. Thank you for that input, Becky. That's helpful.
Just out of curiosity, Jason, do you know how many lines of text it throws out there?
I think what you see on the diagram with the I mean, that's, and that's the thing, if we focus on the digital sign, that's when we get into the pixels and,
Yeah.
because I know, much like with the fire company discussion, residents, the neighbors will be concerned about what kind of light it's putting off. And so, yeah, so we can get more kind of deep into that stuff if the board wants to look at digital signs, that can be part of that for further discussion.
I mean, I personally, as much as I hate to spend the kind of money that's at the bottom line here, I don't think we do anybody a service at this time if we were to get something less than what you represent here as the total costs in that picture, right?
That's $41,330.
Yeah, it's
And
like
that's 8,426 more than we have a budget of 32,994, so.
Yeah, I get that. I don't like spending that kind of money, but at the same token, I think we'd be either we have to find a company's willing to pay, charge us less, which I don't think is highly likely, charge us less.
No, this was a very comprehensive package of
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
Thank you, Becky.
Thank you. Yeah, so, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Marla,
Yeah.
anybody else on the board, what are your thoughts on
I
spending
agree.
extra?
I think that, yes, we don't like that number. No one likes to see a number like that. How long has our township not have a sign right now?
A couple months,
Since December.
since December.
4 now, yeah.
We've had a sign out
Okay.
there forever.
So we should probably get this going, at least get some more quotes. Are we getting another quote, you said? Because
so-
from what I see right here, there's no official,
So part of it was, we needed direction from the
Yes.
board. If the board wants a
That's what I-
digital sign, then we can provide
exactly,
those
okay.
quotes.
So I would like to go towards the digital. Okay, and so
I
does
do too.
Marla?
Yes, and I think we also have to look at this as an investment. We're not going to be doing this every 5 years. What's the lifespan of these? Hopefully a while.
Yeah, I mean, and we have some LSA money, and we also have the benefit of the insurance fund because of some nice citizen taking down the sign. Which means we get a new base as opposed to having to install it on the old base.
So we're technically getting a $41,000 sign for $8,426 or a little bit more.
That would be the
Yeah,
class
but we're
half
thinking
full
long-term at
approach.
Like
this
10
point.
grand.
Yes.
Yeah, but we need to start
top it
thinking
off.
long-term.
It's 10 grand, it's a
Not,
brand new
not
digital
now,
sign.
not for tomorrow. We're thinking long-term. This is going to last us. From what I see on here, there's also a warranty of some sort that they provide for the actual digital sign. I think these are things that are needed here.
Do we have provision to put a camera on it, so the next time it gets hit, we can...
That would be nice too.
I will say, when we talk about the cameras for the building, we will have something covering the whole parking lot. And actually recording.
All right, so the next step is, I guess, Well, we've decided on the digital, so we've got that going for us. The lettering on the base, do we want the lettering? Do we not want the lettering? It will save us $3,645. Or have we just decided we're going to go soup to nuts and put that lettering on there, which I have no objection to. Maybe not quite that big and that typeface stinks, but, you know,
I mean,
we
it'd
can
be
work on
nice if
that.
we had do we need the 53? Because it doesn't say what the
I think
street is.
I think this is just an artist's
Right.
conceptual kind of a thing. This can be tweaked. I don't think we need the logo. We don't need the 53. I don't even think do we need that pillar going up the side, or is that part of the,
What if we
As
have it
far
kind
as
of in
the address
center?
goes,
yeah?
we do, I think, currently require, and we certainly are considering requiring everyone to put their address for
Really?
fire safety issues. And if we're doing that, I would then suggest we should probably do it also.
Okay. You never know, learn something new every day. Thank you, Peter. So I wouldn't put the 53 there. Do we have to have that pillar on the side? Does that have to be there?
No, I don't believe
I
so.
didn't think, just a base.
I-
We could have administration and police with the address underneath.
Like I said, if we can if the board, we can focus on the digital sign part and we can go with options with the digital sign so that that's more than one.
Okay.
Yeah, just for what it's worth. I mean, I almost prefer if it just said Lower Frederick Township at the top and then the address on the base, period, not administration and police.
Yeah.
You're saying Lower Frederick Township, what do they think the building's for? I mean,
Although, since the police are in the back.
I
think
disagree.
it
I
should say
do like the
police.
administration and police on there. They should know that the police department is,
It would be,
Located where
yeah,
the
I think that's
administration is.
important. I think designating this as administration and police. I think that's, yeah. Well, now you've got direction on flavors here. So do you want to bring this back at the next work session?
Yes.
Bring it back to the next work session, and then we can vote on it at the next general meeting.
thank you, Jason.
All right.
Beginning
Thanks,
of June.
Becky.
Yeah.
Thank you, Becky.
Okay, moving on to our next agenda item. This evening is Public Works request for dump truck purchasing option discussion.
All right, so as you may recall, this was tabled at the 324 work session. We did budget for a dump truck purchase this year. One of the trucks in front of you would require a CDL to operate, and the other truck does not. I did reach out to Daryl Peck from Concord Financial for financing options for 5-7 years. That next statement doesn't. Just as a side note, if at some point we were to move forward, we would have to physically go out and get loan options from banks for this purchase. He just generalized for the discussion's sake,
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. How much did we budget for this?
So for this year's budget, we budget 197,000.
Okay, so 197,000, okay.
The one thing that concerns me about this quote is I would like, I know Peterbilt is a quality company, but I would like to see at least two other quotes from like other providers of this type of equipment. So we're talking about a substantial amount of funds. Well, I'd like to see the other two non-cheapest quotes.
We need to see something to
We-
compare
yeah, we
that
need,
to. I don't doubt you. But the other issue I have with both of them is that they don't have a CoStar's quote number. They don't have their CoStar vendor number on here. It has to have that on the paperwork. And I get that. But for our purposes and for auditing purposes, it might be, I'm totally about buying a truck, but we need to make sure our due diligence and we have our paperwork all lined up. CoStar's does have a,
Hold on just 1 second.
sure.
Tommy, these are not co-stars, they're state contract. Is that what you're saying?
I think,
I have to double check, but one of the companies we spoke to was state contract, the other was good.
Okay, so they are two different, we can use either, but they are two separate and distinct programs.
Oh, yeah, well,
Okay, so-
I was under the assumption these were CoStar's.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. CoStar's does have a quote toolkit that might be helpful. If you go on, they have a toolkit where you just kind of fill in the info. Does anyone have any questions about this?
I don't have any questions. I think given the close difference in the price and given that one is much larger in terms of its capacity, I think it's kind of a no-brainer to go for the one that requires a CDL. I guess my other question is I'd like to know more about financing. In this day and age, we can't do better than 5%. We can't get 4.5%.
He said we're going to have to get at least a couple more proposals for
I mean,
financing.
would
Yeah.
Victory give us maybe a deal on this?
So the 5% was just for discussion purposes. We
Understood.
would actually I'd have to get financing from actual banks.
And it would probably be helpful if we had the quotes and the exact numbers. That might be helpful, or can you just get the financing numbers so we can apply them later? You can go and get quotes on the rates. You can get the financing
yeah.
options and then, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to confuse you. I'm sorry. Okay. Just out of curiosity, had we even thought about maybe considering used, verified, certified used vehicles that you could get like right away as opposed to buying brand new? Because how long is this going to take to come in? Like, when we order this?
I can't answer, they gave us rough dates. One is a year on the bill.
So it'll take a year to build it? Okay,
8 weeks to get the
great.
cab chassis, but a year on the bill on one, and RJ, what was the other one for the other company?
Go ahead, RJ.
So we went with the quotes that you guys have in hand now. The reason we went with the Peterbilt and the TP trailers or Tamaqua Truck Center quotes was because we would have the truck within 10 to 12 months. We did have a quote for Western Star for the chassis. That was $10,000 more than the Peterbilt. The body build would be the same through Tamaqua. We were more satisfied with that, with the timeline and the way the build was.
Well,
And-
it actually sounds like you guys have already done the footwork, But if you can get that all to us, that pretty much says, and it proves, yeah, this is, I trust
Yeah,
that
we
you know
can,
what you guys need. If it's the bigger
yeah,
truck, the
we,
smaller truck, whatever it is, that's your expertise. I trust that. We need to make sure that we're
yeah,
doing our
we
due
spent some
diligence.
time on this stuff, over the winter. And what we did was, with everything else going on, we gave you guys and we gave Jason the best fitting quotes for the truck or the trucks that we were, were running to get as far as the 10-ton or the non-CDL qualified truck. Um, so that's why Jason has what he has and what he gave to you guys. Um, the other truck, like truck chassis wise, the other trucks were more money. So we went with the lower cost truck chassis and the lower truck or the the body build for both trucks, the 10-ton or the 5-ton truck, were through TP Trailers or the new Tamaqua Truck Center quotes. They were the timeline for them to build that body were within $5,000 worth range of the other builder that we've used in the past, but the timeline for them was cut in half. So that's why we went with those to give the quotes to Jason to give to you guys. We did put some time and effort into getting these quotes. And that's why we only sent those specific ones to Jason to give to you guys.
If I remember correctly, when we actually sat with you and Tom, you guys went over these, if I remember correctly. And we were even kind of like, oh, yeah, the Peterbilt sounds pretty good. It was left, and a discussion was going to be brought to this table, if I remember correctly. Am I correct? Tom, okay. RJ, am I correct?
Yeah, I believe that was right in our informational meeting that we had. We just
Okay,
discussed the options slightly and that was what we had at the time.
that's how I remembered it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just like, this is Dan Orff. Basically, I no question that you guys did your due diligence and put the things together. But we need to, we as supervisors, and carrying out our responsibility to make sure that we've seen the information firsthand before we make a decision. It's important. And we're not questioning that you guys have done a good job of researching these and making sure that you're picking the thing the equipment that's best. And you've done a very good job of explaining how you balanced time frames of things coming in and all that kind of stuff. So if you can just provide us the additional information so that we have it all on hand, on file, and so that if anybody comes back in the future and looks over this meeting, they will note that we had seen the information on the various options, and indeed we concurred with our professionals in Public Works that was indeed the correct choice to go with.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you, Dan. I'm assuming that all the quotes that you guys were getting they're all co-stars, or did you say, or state contract? How does state contract differ from co-stars, Peter? It's like pretty much the same thing, isn't it?
It's just a different program.
Yeah,
As far as we're concerned, it's the same thing.
okay, that's fine, okay. So we budgeted for 197, that we're doing financing on something that is significantly more expensive. Do we see this affecting our budget in any way long-term? I mean, the payments are going to be spread out. You're going to get the financing amounts.
Yeah, I mean, right now, the way the budget would look is we bought it outright. So obviously the finance options, much like it did with the excavator, it'll spread it out. So the impact, we'll have more cash now
Right. And then I had asked the question why, if you guys had even considered maybe a certified used at all, or is, Brand-
Those are tough to find.
Okay.
The secondary market since probably the last 10 years has changed with the cost, with the cost going up. So
right?
you just don't see those kind of trucks out there the way you used to, or it's kind of like, okay, what's wrong with it kind of thing.
Even certified?
But yeah, well,
I mean, I
don't know.
get you would
It's not
probably
really
be
a
taking a
cert-
risk
yeah.
on that, yeah.
Because like we can't even turn, like we can't do you can't do trade-ins and stuff with these because they have to get modified for municipal.
Well,
So
I'm just thinking about like the resale value, because I mean, you buy something new, I mean, the value depreciates 20 to 30% in the first couple of years that you get it. At least with something used, you might have something, but I mean, if the purpose here is served better by brand new? Okay. Great, thank you, Tommy.
Anybody can, let me know if I'm misstating this, but it sounds to me as if we have, you've been quiet, Terry, but I think we have consensus that the Public Works Department needs the larger vehicle. We're looking for the paperwork, but maybe we can focus our next discussion on the financing. And maybe between now and next week, we can get that information. And would you be able to get some financing information by next week? Because if this goes another month, we're talking about, how far out? Almost a year?
I can try.
Well, let's do that then. If you can get it, maybe we can talk about the financing. We'll get the other information.
Yeah,
If you
do your
can't,
best,
we
and then
won't.
if not, we'll do it at the next meeting, and then, so we can get this,
Get
At
this
the
moving.
worst, I can have it for the work session.
Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds good because prices are not going, they're not going down.
no.
I mean, I cannot believe that the sign is so much more expensive in 2 years, but that's the world.
So
we
in the
live
meantime, do you have something you can still pull the mini excavator with until this comes in? Great, okay. All right, so Jane, so you're going to try and get that financing stuff, okay? And you guys are going to work on getting the paperwork with the CoStar info on it. Great, I appreciate that. Thanks so much. Okay, moving on, the next agenda on our item this evening is data centers and data center accessory uses discussion. And we are only discussing an ordinance. Just to make it clear, we have not received an application. We have no intentions of seeing a data center within Lower Frederick's borders anytime soon, if at all. So, but this is just to protect us going forward. Okay, how would you like to start this off, Marla? You kind of want to speak to it.
Yeah, so some of us went to the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Supervisors last week, and let me tell you, the number one topic there was data centers. I mean, it was data centers the whole time. And there are some townships in Pennsylvania that have gotten ahead of this, and there are some, like Limerick, that tried to get ahead of it, and others that couldn't get ahead of it. But the message from everybody was run, don't walk, and get your ordinance approved. So I'm just speaking for myself, but I don't think we can't afford to spend 6 months on this. I think the things that need to go in it are pretty clear. We need to stipulate where they can go, which is probably industrial, right, Peter? That's where they put them, industrial?
Yes.
And we can stipulate setbacks. We need to have some serious setbacks from the neighbors. We can stipulate things like sound studies, having an EMS agreement. If there's a fire at one of these places, it's not just like your backyard barbecue, it's a much bigger deal. So I think that's also an important part of it. And, a number of other things. So, we have a couple basic model ordinances. Chester and Montgomery County have collaborated and come out with a, what did you call it? Like a little handbook which talks about it. Maybe we should put that on our website if people are interested. Could we do that? put a link to that. So I'm just speaking for myself. Like I said, I think we can, this is pretty down and dirty. I think we can get this out in 2 or 3 meetings. I'm concerned about waiting.
I would like a little bit more time to go over this, and I had some things that I wanted to add to it or make suggestions to as well. Unfortunately, I forgot that, didn't bring it with me this evening. So although I do agree with you, I think we can get this done. We can get it done sooner than later. I don't think we should wait, but I would like some more time to kind of wade through the one that we have. Dan, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, yeah. First off, the one that Peter provided us, I think, reading through it after the concussion I suffered from dozing off. But no, I did get through the thing, and it is very thorough. It covers most everything. It would have to be reworded to be specific for Lower Frederick. And I'd like
Obviously.
to see a reworded version that we could read, hopefully, before we make some decisions. There's a couple minor things that I don't know. I'd have to read it again to make sure that they are included, like one thing that came up a number of times is making sure that if you have a closed loop data center using water, that it releases the water at whatever ambient temperature is, and
You want some thermal regulation in there.
yeah, some thermal. And one of the things that concerned me as well is there was a 20-year limit on if there's wells.
Well guarantee.
Yeah, I'd like to see that extended, and so.
With the well guarantee, usually they're like 5 years. So 20 years is pretty long. It's not something we can make indefinite. We could make it longer, but I think the further we push it out, the more problematic it gets.
Okay,
You probably end up with a little bit of pushback.
yeah.
But if you want it, 30 years, that would be fine, but
Okay.
I'd be worried about pushing it like a 50 or 100 year
Okay.
something.
And then the only other thing is how, from the standpoint of money that they hold, what do they call those, the funds that escrow,
Financial security?
financial security and so forth, like the long-term, and also, what's the other, retirement for this, or what do they call, it's not called retirement.
Decommissioning.
Decommissioning, yes. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on words today. Those two things are important. I think they were mentioned in there, but I just want to review on them a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, the way it's set up is there would be financial security set aside. That financial security, you can make it just one piece of financial security, one deposit. That could cover the well guarantee. That could cover, part of it's supposed to cover the noise. So, they're supposed to prepare a noise study before it's built.
Yeah.
And then once it's built, we go out there to make sure they meet what their noise study says. And if they don't meet that, they have to change things around so they do meet it. If they refuse to do that, we can tap the financial security to make that happen. And then the third aspect of the financial security would be the decommissioning.
Okay. With respect to when testing needs to be done, let's say neighbors one of the things that we heard a lot is neighbors would complain about the sound level from these systems. And then a study has to be done by somebody, typically, hopefully at the expense of but it sounds like we'd have to build that in to make sure that if a study was brought about by the need of one of our citizens, that we're not paying for
I
it.
believe the sample language I provided you would call for that.
Okay.
And it does place the onus. It certainly places it for the preliminary study and the
Right.
follow-up study. If there's then future changes to the center or its operations, I do believe the ordinance also states that we can request that the data center undertake a new study to prove that they're still in compliance as far as noise ordinance goes.
Okay. And the last question I'll ask you, at least I think it's the last one on this one that I'll bring up, is there's a number, I've read that some townships are considering if the data center is going to draw water from wells, in particular, from a well, let's see, people in a certain center around that would be able to get a pre-established testing of their well, its level, what the basic.
So yeah, so if the data center is going to drill a well and use that water for its cooling purposes, which would be, around here, if it's a good-sized data center, it would be the biggest well in the township by far. They would have to receive approval from the Delaware River Basin Commission. And two, under our ordinance, they would have to do a water study. And that water study would include mapping out all the wells within, I want to say it's within a mile. And if not, we could, make it a mile. And then, if those owners want to have their wells tested, if they want to have monitoring done to their wells, they certainly can do that. And then, as you've mentioned before, there would be a well guarantee aspect of this. And what that well guarantee does is basically it places the onus on the developer. If someone's well goes dry or the water quality goes bad, because that also can happen, then it's up to the data center to prove, hey, it's not our fault. Normally under the law, it's the reverse. It's the well owner's responsibility to say, hey, you caused this. So by enacting this ordinance, we shift the burden onto the data center, and it's a very tough burden. That's why you want to shift it. And then if the data center can't prove that it's something else's fault, ergo it's going to be theirs, they are then on the hook to either drill a new well, drill the current well deeper, hook them up to public water, they're on the hook to do that. If they fail to do that, then you tap the financial security, and that security is used to undertake that process.
Thank you for all the explanation, Peter. Appreciate it.
Yep.
I've noticed there have been a couple other ordinances out there that have been incorporating the Article 1, Section 27 of the Environmental Rights Amendment to the Pennsylvania Constitution into the body of their data center ordinance. Is that something we can try and incorporate in? Do you want to think about that?
We can do that. So what I'm really trying is not get too far down into the weeds.
Understood.
So yes, we could certainly do that. In order to that ordinance amendment isn't what's called self-effectuating. You need something else to say, hey, you can't violate it. I do believe, if I remember correctly. So that's what probably those ordinances are doing. To me, if you write the proper ordinance, the rest of the ordinance is going to be much.
It takes care of all of that.
Takes care of all of it. It's going to be much easier to.
That's fine.
To enforce. That's almost kind of like, okay, if nothing else works, let's try the environmental rights amendment type of thing. Hopefully, we're going to adopt an ordinance that we never get to that point. That being said, if you want to add it, no harm, no foul.
Okay.
I've got some questions about the dimensional requirements, which is on page 3. I've seen bigger minimum site areas. I've also seen bigger setbacks. These setbacks don't really seem.
They're a little slim to me
enough.
as well, yeah.
And then there's also setbacks in another area from residential areas. I'd like to see those be larger too. Oh, wait,
So-
here we are.
So we have a couple of things to take in consideration. This ordinance is a sample I provided you from Bedminster.
Yeah.
The setbacks were chosen because they worked with current industrial use setbacks in Bedminster. Like, one of the things I don't want to do is, if every other industrial use has a 200-foot setback and we then make data centers a 1,000-foot setback, to be honest, if DuPont moved in with a huge chemical plant, that's going to have probably a more profound impact in a data center. But, we're treating them two things differently. So that's why you see this here, the 200 feet is picked, because basically that meshes up well and corresponds well with the other setbacks that Bedminster has already put in place. The second issue is, what you need to be careful is, you don't want to make a setback that's so great that while we have an ordinance that says this use is allowed in the township, practically speaking, it can't be put anywhere in the township because there's no land in the township that can meet all these various requirements. You don't normally see that with industrial uses, but you do see it a lot with, when you're zoning for mines or dumps, trash dumps. A lot of people put in these ridiculously large setbacks, and then they get in trouble because, someone calls their bluff and basically shows, hey, practically speaking, this is impossible.
I'm not asking for a ridiculous setback, but I think 100 feet setback from a street, can't we make that like 150? 200 feet from a property line, I'm assuming that's another industrial site property line.
Yes, and like I said, as Dan requested, one of the things we need to do is, if you want to move forward on this particular ordinance, it will have to be modified to meet what you're looking for and not what Bedminster was looking for. So those things
We're
certainly,
different than Bedminster,
Yes.
yeah.
So can
they certainly
we,
can be changed.
so can we task you to do that for some homework?
Yes.
To go
I
through
mean,
this?
I was going to
Go
ask
through
at
this
the
and
end of,
produce a Lower Frederick version.
yes, at the end of this discussion, I was going to ask if that's what you wanted me to do. I can do it, and I can have it to you by the
Work session.
work session, probably not by the regular meeting, but yes, definitely by the work session.
Do you think we could get it maybe the week before the work session?
Yes.
Yeah. Fabulous, thank you. So everyone's in concurrence with
I
that?
have one other question. There's another thing that came up, and I'm not sure I'm using the right word, but somehow we can put like a pause on anybody coming in with a plan for 6 months?
Oh, that was the curative amendment.
Yeah, that's
you
a
had mentioned.
that's a curative amendment. So just let me delve a little deeper into it. So if you can enact what's called a municipal cure. By enacting that, you're basically saying, hey, our ordinance is unconstitutional in that we don't provide for a required use. Once it's adopted, and all it takes is literally a vote at a public meeting, we then would have 6 months to adopt an ordinance that would address that particular problem. You only can do this once every 3 years, unless there is a change in the law or there's a court decision that places a new obligation upon you. If there's such a change and you don't meet it, you can then enact another one. But other than that, you only can enact it once every 3 years, so you need to be kind of careful when you enact it. Usually you want to enact these things when you don't allow for a use anywhere in the township, and you could have, someone sniffing around and thinking, hey, I'm gonna catch the township with its pants down on this. You used to see it a lot where townships wouldn't zone for multifamily apartment type uses. In our case, we've adopted an ordinance provision called, permitted use, otherwise not zoned, just a catch-all provision that if we have a residential use, it's allowed in, I think, our R1, not R1, sorry, reverse that, the R4, R5, the most dense, it's allowed there by conditional use. We allow institutional and commercial uses within our commercial district, and we allow industrial uses like a data center in our industrial district by conditional use. So and then on top of that, as we had a discussion when I first started here, you're also a member of a larger zone, zoning group.
Central Perkiomen Valley Regional
Exactly.
Planning Commission.
And, certainly, the position of the township is, because of that, we're also protected if if data center use is allowed somewhere within the member municipalities, that would also protect us.
Well,
In that,
no, because only Upper and Lower Frederick would have that amount of land.
so,
So
but,
that is where the data centers would go, would be Upper or Lower Frederick.
so.
We're
but
protected against other things like apartment buildings and.
Right. But so the big concern when you don't zone for a use is for someone filing a curative amendment or a substantive challenge to the zoning hearing board. Because the courts have stated, when you win such a challenge, you get what's called site-specific relief. Basically, you get to put that use wherever you want to put it. And so, usually what you get is you have someone who buys a lot of farmland cheap and then files a curative amendment for a huge residential development or commercial development or whatever, arguing, hey, you guys are not complying with the law, you don't zone for these particular uses. In fact, one of the classic things is someone to do that, file a curative amendment for a mobile home park. They don't want to put a mobile home park in any more than the township wants one in, but they kind of will do that and then settle for a residential development. So this is a long explanation of basically, I'm not concerned for Lower Frederick because we're protected from those sorts of curative amendments. Someone who wants to put a data center in here would have to file for it in the industrial district. They would still have to go through the conditional use process. What we would be lacking if we hadn't adopted an ordinance yet is, some of these protections regarding sound, water, buffering, that sort of thing. At the same time, it is a conditional use process, and so we could always attach those sorts of conditions onto any approval. So unlike Bedminster does not have this catch-all. In fact, I am taking what I wrote for you guys and I'm going to have them enact it there. So Bedminster has had people sniffing around. So that's why in Bedminster, I did the municipal cure just to be safe. I'm not as concerned for Lower Frederick. That being said, if you wish to do one, it's a very simple process and it, can't hurt unless, 2 years from now, we discover something else we need to do and we really want to enact it then.
So I guess I understand what you're saying. I'm still going to plea with my colleagues that we go speedily, not speedily, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be tight. And I have one other question. One of the other issues that came up was a concern about taxes, that the state is looking at designating these perhaps as like a utility, which means localities would not get any tax benefit. So some places are looking at things like a fee in lieu of to ensure that they get some kind of monetary benefit from these things plunking themselves down in your municipality. Is that something we need to consider?
I think that's something, if the state adopts some law, we have to see how that law is adopted and see whether or not, we have the ability to do a fee in lieu of. Normally, fee in lieu of are agreements between a township and municipality and an institution. Classic case are colleges and universities, hospitals, that sort of thing. I've never seen them in regards to utilities. So it's, I mean, if we want to ask, if someone came in and wanted to develop a data center and we asked to set up some, I wouldn't call it a fee in lieu of, to be honest, because that's kind of a term of art. But if we want to set up some sort of fee structure or contribution structure, we certainly can ask that. I don't know if it really needs to be memorialized in the ordinance. And even if we did do that, I'm not sure if push comes to shove, it's something that we could defend. But on a case-by-case basis, depending on what relief the data center needs to actually be constructed in our township, that's certainly something that can be, negotiated at that point in time.
Okay, thank you.
So Peter, just to reiterate, if we were to go forward with the concept that you're going to make a Lower Frederick version of what you presented to us, and that wound up at our next working session, and we were to approve that, even if we thought there were some issues with it, we could subsequently, at some point, amend that ordinance, right?
You could amend it at the next meeting as long as you meet advertising requirements.
Okay, I mean,
So-
what I'm getting at is, we can we theoretically can move so that there's something in place by the end of next, at the next work session.
Well, no, because it's going to have to be advertised and it's going to have to be
Okay,
sent to the
okay.
planning commissions.
Yeah.
So
We
if at
could
the
have
next work
something to
session, I
review.
provide this to you, you guys could then say, yeah, this works. We're
Right.
authorizing it to be advertised. At that point in time, I would send it to the township and county planning commissions.
Right.
We'd have to give them 30 days to review it. And after that 30 days is up, regardless if they review it or not, at the next meeting, we could then, you could then adopt it, and I would advertise for that next meeting, whenever that was. So you're looking,
Yeah.
you're looking at, so we're looking at the May work session. So most likely, it would be adopted at your first meeting in July.
Okay, and in the meantime, if somebody were to try to come in and we're in the middle of adopting this, are they going to be held, are they free to work? They'll still work on that other, our current
Yeah, they
catch-all,
would have to file for a conditional use approval
right?
at a minimum. And, if they file a land development plan before we enact this ordinance, they're grandfathered in. If they file a conditional use application before we enact this ordinance, they're grandfathered in, as long as they move quickly. Certainly, if anyone hears of a data center sniffing around, please come talk to us. And, we certainly, we could advertise an emergency meeting and enact a cure, within, less than a week.
Okay,
So unless there's someone who, sneaks in, without telling anyone anything, we don't know anything. Hopefully, most likely, someone's going to
yeah,
get wind of a project as big as this, and it, hopefully they would let us know, and then we could react appropriately.
okay, that makes me feel comfortable moving forward in one day, okay.
Yeah, and the buying up land apparently is a clue. Apparently up in the Poconos and other areas, there are big companies just buying up land for above market price, so that's the clue. Right?
Oh, yeah, certainly.
Okay, so we'll have something for our next work session
A week before.
a week before. Thank you.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
I have
Terrific.
some questions
Yes.
before that. So I love listening to people speak. Of course, over at the PSAS, I was able to get information, like Marla had mentioned, but I have to do my own research, always turn everything into a project. From what I'm gathering, Lower Frederick Township, the probability of it may be moderate in 10-plus years because of the acreage that's even available. From what my understanding, our LI is what, less than 80 acres? It's about that.
Say that, I didn't hear the beginning of that sentence. What is less than 80 acres?
How much acreage is left in our
Oh,
limited
how much
industrial?
is left, okay,
I think it's 43.
okay.
What is it? Oh, so it's even less than what I thought. Okay. The only reason why I'm bringing this up is because usually the larger facilities need 100+ acres. So in my perspective, after looking into all of this stuff, it looks like if Lower Frederick was ever considered, it would be more of a hybrid facility, if I can say that. It would be more of a backup center. It wouldn't be something that could even hold the amount of energy that these 100+ acre facilities are holding. So if that's the case, can we put this into the ordinance as well, to where not only can it, something as far as AI data centers, but can we emphasize the backup facilities?
It's not a bad idea. I agree with that simply because a failure of imagination could come back
Exactly.
to bite us
The
back
other
later,
thing that
yeah.
the other thing that I also wanted to mention, there are different cooling mechanisms and chemicals, and we're not, and just to give another reference, I did read both ordinances that both Jason and Peter, you had given us. I did love yours. It was very detailed. Definitely lean towards that. But have we all heard of dielectric fluid? Okay, here's a little, and anyone on Zoom can correct me if I'm wrong. This dielectric fluid is like a water. It's non-toxic to begin with, so it's safe. All the electrical equipment sits in this, it cools it, lasts for up to 10 to 20 years without having to be replaced. When it is replaced, or it's time to replace, it needs to be disposed of in the proper manner. If not, it can be highly toxic. This is another thing that we should be putting into our ordinance. There are a couple ways to dispose of it, and to be honest with you, it's not even in my notes. I didn't put it in here. But just a couple things that I wanted to make sure we can kind of put into the ordinance, verbiage-wise.
I think at least my sample already talks about having to comply with DEP and EPA regulations.
I did see that.
And usually the disposal, that sort of thing, it's not something townships usually regulate.
Yeah, it's
We
like
kind of just say,
biohazard.
follow what the state does, because the
Okay.
state sets forth those requirements. The state really has the experience and the ability to enforce. We really don't have that ability to enforce. So I will look at my ordinance to make sure it covers this sort of thing. But, what I would recommend is basically just say, hey, you got to operate within those regulations. And, if they don't, we can enforce our ordinance against them for that. But also, it doesn't put us on the front line of actually figuring out, are they really complying with state and federal law?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, does anyone have any other comments, any questions? I'm going to move on to the next agenda item. Okay, and this is another discussion, ordinance discussion, village mixed use. I know we had a conversation at the last meeting, and I think we gave John a whole lot of, pardon me, feedback on hopefully getting something back from him. I think we're still looking for that. So Jason, if you could reach out to him for the next work session. And in the meantime, I know that I have information that I wanted to share with him as well. I know Dan has shared some info, and I wanted to stress to the rest of the members of the board that if there are things in particular that you think are going to be poignant to be put into our village mixed use, please share them with John and Peter, and then we can come together and have a conversation about it and get it pushed forward a little further.
I have one thing, well, probably more than one thing, but one definite thing I want, and I think this is for Carol. I really like these design standards you sent. So Carol sent us a little packet of design guidelines, and it just shows different things, simple things you can do to like the front of a building to make it look like it belongs in a village, and it's not just like a cookie cutter, chain store. But my question is, well, two questions. One, is this something that is separate from the ordinance and then you update? And my second question is, how do you make this happen if it's just guidelines? Like, how do these design guidelines work into the actual development process?
So it's standalone and it is referenced in the ordinance. So that gives the ability for the planning commission and the borough council to talk to the developers and say, hey, have you looked at these? How are you complying with these? So it's not as fixed as being in your zoning code, but it's reference material and that's cross-referenced in other ordinances.
Okay, because I just really like some of the simple things that are in here. So instead of like a huge sign, it makes things look less strip mall-y and more, I'm walking down Main Street and, my township kind of thing. So, I mean, I guess I'd like to ask my colleagues, is this something like this that we'd like to consider to attach to the ordinance? Or do you want to see something else? Because I think the design, I know Dan in particular, I think this will answer a lot of your questions about the look.
I think having something to present to a developer and visually you can say, this is what we're looking at. It might be helpful. I don't know if it's going to slow down the process of the ordinance itself or if they can be done in tandem.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we
Did you
were,
have a chance to look through this?
yeah, I did look
Yeah,
through some of
I
that. I
think this is
thought
good.
they were very nice, what do you call that? Modifications to the front of the buildings in question. And one of the things we asked, I thought one of the things we were asking John to do is take the information from all of us. We'd send it to him, and he's supposed to aggregate it some way and give us back a single thing to look at that would encompass those aspects. I mean, a lot of the very good ideas are out there in both the Monco planning portion of their website for village mixed use, and Chester County has a bunch of nice things as well. I mean, there are just two that I looked at. But I do think it would be too difficult, I think, if we tried to do it like in a discussion context without having somebody like John, who's a planner and that kind of stuff, look through there and try to give us all the things that, I tried to list everything I wanted to see in the village mixed use. And I lay that out and then see how he can make that happen.
But this is not going to be part of an ordinance. This is going to be a standalone, the design
He can
guidelines.
reference, what do you call those, style guides?
So should we
and
then
stuff
go
like that.
back to him and ask him to also, I mean, can we ask him to look at this
Yeah,
and see if there's something, if he likes this or there's something else out there that's more appropriate for Lower Frederick for the standalone design guide? So I think without this, we're not going to get what we want.
I mean, one of the things,
You
yeah.
might be right.
We
Yeah,
need both.
we agree, yeah. Because one of the things I want him to try to do is incorporate the visual standards that were identified with that
That's what that
database
is.
study.
That's what
Yeah,
this
that's
is,
similar to that, yeah.
But this wouldn't be part of the ordinance. This would be,
the standalone, the Carol's.
and the
It-
beauty
but
of
it-
this, the beauty of this not being part of the ordinance is we can change it.
But Marla, usually is an integral aspect of the ordinance, so you would be enacting the ordinance at the same time as approving the guidelines.
I understand.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that if we care about the look, that is something that is also part of this process. So can you also reach out to John and just send this to him and just say, we're looking for, obviously not this exactly, but we're looking for design guidelines or standards or whatever you call it to go along with our ordinance, to have that
And any
village look.
recommendations he could potentially make on what we should put in there?
Yeah, I'm sure he's seen lots of other examples.
I do believe in, if I'm reading this correctly, building and site design. It does state what you were talking about, Marla.
Yes, but the thing that's nice about this is we can add or subtract from it, and it's easier than updating an ordinance. So the two of them go together, but it's kind of like our plant list, right? The plant list would change, but we don't have to update the ordinance for the plant list, for the,
Okay, and so you'll get in
The
touch with John
landscaping
and we'll have
things.
something for our next meeting. Does anybody else have any other by all means, like I said, send stuff to John that you would like to have addressed.
Yeah, and the only other thing I wanted to emphasize is, again, for me, I think walkability is really important. People want to, if we're going to have a whole village area, people need to be able to easily get from place to place. It should look nice. We need to have street trees, we need to have buffers, we need to have landscaping. It should look like it's Lower Frederick, not Conshohocken.
You know, one thing I will say.
Nothing against Conshohocken.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed.
That's sort of an unfair assessment of poor Conshohocken.
Yeah, let's not beat up on
They have
that.
some pretty nice little neighborhoods.
One thing I did notice that was present in most of the village mixed-use plans is they stressed having a village green, and they even gave specific sizings that you should look at. And I think that's integral. I mean, I don't know how John makes that have its way into a plan. I guess they would leverage the fact that we require a certain amount of open space and so forth. But yeah, they said having a village green or a village square is key to walkability and other aspects of
Like I
that
said,
type of
pocket
community.
parks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, okay. So that is the end of our business for this evening. This is time for public comment. Do we have any public comment? Please, Warren. Go ahead. Yep.
I want to thank the board for moving forward with the electronic sign thing. I just want to say, I think that that's probably the most effective means of communication that we have available to really get any kind of message out to the public. When people drive by and see that, it's word of mouth is going to get it throughout the township way more than anything else that we can possibly do. So, and I understand the concern about the money that you guys bring up. I'm a frugal Dutchman. I hate frivolous spending more than anybody that you probably know. But this is not frivolous at all. I think this is really, 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 really an important expenditure. Thanks again.
Thank you, Warren. Is there anybody on Zoom? No? No other public comment? The supervisor comment then?
Yeah, I just have one quick thing that I forgot to mention when we were talking about the sign and lighting. The EAC has a list of about 8 items associated with dark skies and making things go dim at night and so forth like that, related to both the signs and also with respect to the data center rules. So hopefully we can get I think Diane Jurin can send them on to you from the EAC. I think it is worthwhile to dim those things at night.
Okay. Any other supervisor comments? Okay, not seeing any. This meeting is adjourned.